Kal Kadosh Boker Or. We're going to be continuing with Bekiim Bahalacha, day 56, page 173. We are on Halacha Yud Tet. We're going to speak about today who counts in a Minyan. So it says over here like this. As mentioned above in Halacha number 1, a Minyan consists of 10 adult Jewish men. Women, male slaves belonging to Jews and children cannot count as a Minyan. Correct? So it has to be men and above bar mitzvah. Okay? 322 actually says the Mordechai cited Rabbeinu Simcha, ruling that a woman or a slave who belongs to a Jew count as a tenth of a Minyan for the prayers of Zimun of 10 people. But Yosef asserted that this rule corresponds to Rabbeinu Tam, who says the halacha opinion of Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi that a slave belonging to a Jew counts as a 10th man of a Minyan. See below in the following halacha, the footnote there. Apparently Rabbeinu Simcha added that a woman can also count, since women and slaves have equal status regarding fulfillment of mitzvot. Nevertheless, Rabbeinu Tam never permitted this leniency to be put into practice, and so we certainly obviously cannot do so. Therefore, we never count a woman as a tenth of a minyan. This is likewise the ruling of Shulchan Aruch. So Shulchan Aruch as well, paskin like this. Okay? Then it says, a neuter who has no external genital organs, or an androgynos. So this is basically a tumtum and androgynos, so we call it a chazal, who has both the male and female external genital organs, or someone who is half a slave and half a free man, cannot count as minyan either. 323 says these individuals cannot count as members of a minyan because we cannot argue that they should be counted on the basis of a doubt. Perhaps the person is a male, and even if it's a female, maybe we go like Rabbeinu Tam, meaning like we wanted to make a safek sefeka. He says it is definite that such intersex persons do not have the status of a male. Okay, makes sense? 324, says, okay, the Yeshua Yaakov argued that a half slave does count as a member of a minyan, since the halacha demands that a Jew who owns half of him must set him free. And so he's already considered a free man based on that. The Pri Megadim disagreed, saying that the person must have a real status of a free man, and therefore he does not be counted of the minyan. Kavachim Mishabura agrees with the Pri Megadim. What about a person who was made by Sefer HaYetzirah? Okay? Makes sense. So a person, they come, they make, think about it, we need a minyan. I come, Sefer HaYetzirah, boom, we make a human being. Okay, there's a tenth. We have a minyan. Yeah? Golem, exactly. What do you say, Mordechai? You want to count him? No? Mordechai doesn't like it. The response to Haham Tzvi ruled that a person brought into existence through the Sefer Yetzirah cannot be counted as a member of a minyan. He derived this from the Lacha, from the Talmud, that counts such a being reverted back to dust from which he was formed. This proves that he was never considered a human being with a soul. The Rav Chida concur with this ruling, and they are said in the Mishnah and the Kavachim Sofer. The Chazon Ish stated that it appears that such a being does not have the privileges that the Torah gives to Jewish people, and that in all likelihood it does not even have the basic rights to life that every human being possesses as well. So Mamash, he's like, it's not even like a human being, right? In that fact. Okay, next. Halacha Kaf. What about a child? Okay? Can a katan be counted as a minyan or not? Okay? So a child under bar mitzvah cannot be counted as a member of minyan under any circumstances, even if the minyan is urgently needed and no other 10th person can be found. Zot omeret, mamash dachuf leminyan, lo yicholim limtzod, doesn't matter. A katan cannot be counted. If a small community... No, if it's tonight, then fine. But not if it's going to be today. Remember, meaning as long as he's not 13. Okay, tonight he's already bar mitzvah. If a small community or village has only 9 men, they may not form a minyan using a 10th member, which is a child. In fact, if someone is one of the 9 men present and he sees that they're going to count the child, what he has to do is he leaves the synagogue immediately. If he remains there, he'll be guilty of enabling others to sin by possibly reciting unwarranted blessings such as the Chazarat HaShatz, right, and the blessing recited before and after the Torah reading. Okay, so basically it's going to be a problem. Likewise, the child cannot count as a member of minyan to enable the congregation to read the Torah. If there's a minyan besides the child, however, the child can be called up to one of the 7 people to get on aliyah. Let's see the 325. Okay? The Mishabura commented that many Achronim concur with this ruling, right, which basically that you cannot use a child. He says, Shlomo Zalman Auerbach ruled that must never count a child as a member of a minyan, even if it's going to result that they're just going to not have a minyan. This is what is meant in the words, afilu is a dachuf, even if it's urgently needed, used by the Mishabura. This is in contrast to the ruling of Moshe Feinstein that in such a case the people may be lenient. So basically there was a tshuva of Moshe Feinstein that you could be lenient to count a 10th person, but obviously we don't go by it. Okay? What about Rabbeinu Tam's famous ruling? So listen to this. The Gemara states Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi taught, although a child in his cradle does not count as a third member of Zimun, he can be counted as a 10th member. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi also taught 9 men and a slave can join to form Minyan. Rabbi Nutam in Tosafot ruled, right, like Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, and allowed a child lying in his cradle to be counted as a 10th for Zimun, for Birkat HaMazon, and for prayers. That means according to Shtat Rabbi Nutam, you could use a child for Minyan. Mamash in his cradle, meaning afilu ba'arisa, mamash, So he says Rabbeinu Asher and the Mordechai cited of High Gaon, explaining that even an infant in his cradle can be counted since the Holy Shekhinah hovers, over any place where 10 Jews are present. This concept is expounded in Sanhedrin from the pasuk, "I will be sanctified." He said, therefore, if 10 Jews are present, whether they are adults or children, they have the status of among people of Israel, and they may recite the Kiddusha. This leniency is limited to the counting one child together with 9 adult male Jews. However, we may not count more than one child, meaning, even if you're going to tell me you could count a child, zrak echad, you can't count 2. Meaning, don't tikach shtei yeladim. No. Yeah, exactly. No. One child. That's it. The Sefer Amani cited the opinion of Rabbeinu Tam without comment. Tosafot, Rabbeinu Asher, and the Mordechai all noted that in practice Rabbeinu Tam never relied upon this. And therefore, meaning, even Rabbeinu Tam with the Shita, he was never somech al zeh l'maaseh. So the man lo asa maaseh, and he was somech on 9 people with one child. Right? So therefore he says, Rabbeinu Yitzchak ben Sheshat, right? There's right? He says like this. He says like this. Rivash says that even those who permit counting a child as a member of a minyan, the child must be intellectually advanced. He must understand to who we're making a brachot. The child must be a minimum of 9 or 10 years old, or at least minimum 6. If he's younger than that, for sure he cannot be counted. The Orchot Chaim related that Rabbeinu Shimshon excommunicated the residents of a small village because they refused to obey his ruling, and they formed a minyan by counting a child. Even so, the Orchot Chaim concluded that if there's no other possibility of forming a minyan, they can count a child. He testified that this is the opinion of Rabbeinu Avraham bar David, right? So he says, and this is custom in many places, the Kolbo took this even further, that in every single community the custom is to count 1 or 2 children, right, of a minyan, and that when it is urgently needed, even if to 3 children can be counted. So mamash, meaning not only 1, not only 2, but even 3. You understand? Like mamash, they're going to the extremes. Okay, but now let's go to the other ruling. So the Rosh stated that Rabbeinu Yitzchak disagreed with Rabbeinu Tam. Although Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi permitted this, it is a subject between Rav Ashi or Zutram Berachot regarding the halachot of Zimun. Rav Ashi did not permit people to count a child as a 3rd member of the Zimun, but he permitted counting a child as a 10th member of the Zimun. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi's ruling occurs with that of Rav Ashi. But the halacha follows the opinion of Zutra, who did not permit a child to be counted as a 10th member of a Zimun. Okay, the child must reach puberty, meaning that he has grown pubic hair. The Avi Ezri, right, cited by the Mordechai, right, ruled that in light of this halachic debate, anybody who possesses the fear of sin, meaning a God-fearing person, should not count a child for Zimun or for a Minyan. This is also the ruling of Rabbeinu Yitzchak in the God Minyot and the Mitzvot Gadol, and also Rabbeinu Yonah, right, that they all have to be older than Bar Mitzvah in order to say Kaddish, Kiddusha Baruchu. Rabbeinu Shlomo ben Aderet, that's a Rashba, concur with this ruling, and in a third response, cited proof from the Midrash in Bereshit Rabbah. The Bet Yosef asserted that the Arba Turim, the Tur, also paskin like that they must all be free men, adults who have grown pubic hair, and that's also the ruling of the Rambam, right? The Mari Kolon, right? But that's brought down in the Rosh, and the Tur also, they all saying the same thing. Explained that even Rabbeinu Tam refused to actually take it into practice. He added that this is the opinion of Rabbeinu Yitzchak, Rabbeinu Yehuda, the Rimer from Paris, Mitzvah Gadol, and in the face of this lineup, there's no room for leniency. The Rivash concluded that his discussion with the decision to follow the strict ruling of the Rambam and the decision of Rabbi Bet Yosef, that the Rakim Moshe suggested this is possible, that the poskim agree that when absolutely necessary, it is permissible to count the 10th. After all, he pointed Rabbeinu Avraham bar David is among the poskim who rule stringently, but he permitted in such a case. So, meaning there's a lot of raid, they call it here. Right? There's a lot of things going on over here. What about if he holds a chumash? I'm sure you probably heard of this. That means basically you come, you put the child to sit down, and you give him a chumash. Now kilu he could be counted as 10. So he says the Tur stated that according to some poskim, it's permissible to count a child as a member of Minyan if he's given a chumash to hold during the prayers. The Bet Yosef added that the Tosfot mentioned such a practice exists, but added that Rabbeinu Tam scoffed at it, saying, is a chumash a person? Meaning kilu what? The child with a chumash now becomes a gadol? Now, meaning like, if you put a chumash in his hands, now he's fine? We have no precedent for such a concept except for regarding the ceremony of adding an extra month to the year. Besides, in the case of a real Torah scroll implied, not a book chumash, meaning they would actually take a real Sefer Torah, not a stama chumash. In a sense, what's going on here? Like, the entire thing doesn't make sense. The Rosh and the Mordechai concur with Rabbeinu Tam. The Rosh comes and he says, you tell me Yerushalmi, that a child in a Sefer Torah can count with the majority, but that means that either a child or a Sefer Torah, not the two together. But at any rate, Halacha does not follow this passage. Rabbeinu Rosh's conclusion is it's best to refrain from counting a child as 10th Minyan, right? Unless he has grown to pubic hairs. He makes no mention of the handing the child of the Chumash Bichlal. In practice, the Shulchan Aruch states that some poskim permits counting the child over 6 years old who understands whom he's praying, but the major poskim do not concur with this practice. The Rama added in his gloss that some communities are lenient, right, when there's great necessity. This concurs with the ruling of the Darkei Moshe. The Mishnah Berurah objected to this, explaining that a great number of Achronim ruled that a child may never be counted unless he's 13, and this is likewise the ruling of the Kaf HaChaim Sofer, right, noting that this appears to be the opinion of Maran Shulchan Aruch, that Rishon LeZion discussed it again the great length, and he came to the same conclusion as well. So Rav Ovadia, like Maran, right? No such thing as using a child. Next, can you answer amen though? Yeah? So can you answer amen? Right? To a minyan that counts a child. The Or LeZion ruled that if 9 adults counted the child as 10th member, it's permissible to say amen. Right? In the footnote, you don't know the Sephardic Jews may never form such a minyan, but since there is basis in halacha for those who practice leniency, it's permissible to respond amen. You remember? Rav Ben Sion is saying, even though Sfaradim cannot rule like this, but there's an Ashkenazim that impressing me, they're allowed to. So Biglal should be Shvila Ashkenazim, the Ramah brings down that it's permitted, B'shat Dachak, so therefore, a Sfaradi could answer amen. That's what Rav Ben Sion says. Okay, this corresponds to the ruling of Rav Sion, permitting a Sephardic Jew to respond amen to Ashkenazic Jews who recite Hallel on Rosh Chodesh. Maran and Rishon LeZion disagree with this, meaning that Yalkut Yosef says Asur, but according to Rav Ben Sion, Mutar. According to what we just mentioned. Okay, and Bezat Hashem we continue tomorrow. Bezat Hashem.